All right, nines, as promised, here is the take-up of the quiz. So, knowledge and understanding. So let's take a look. So we have 3 to the 5th times 3 squared. So we know that based on the exponent laws that when we're multiplying like bases, we add the exponent. So it's going to be 3 to the 5 plus 2, so 3 to the 7. And then when we evaluate it, we just put it into our calculators, right? And so we're going to do 3 to the exponent 7, and we get 2,187. So moving on to the next one, we have negative 5 to the 7 divided by negative 5 to the 4th, and our exponent laws say that we subtract the exponents. So we end up with negative 5, and then 7 minus 4 is 3. Again, here, be really careful. You have to make sure this is in brackets because ultimately you can simplify this so that it isn't in brackets, but when we started, we want to make sure that it's in brackets. So now I'm going to do the same things. I'm going to do bracket negative 5, close my bracket to the exponent 3, and I get negative 125. So moving on to the next question, I have a power to a power, so I know I have to multiply the exponent, so it's going to be 3, and then here 2 times 3 is 6, so it's going to be 3 to the 6. And again, when I plug that into my trusty calculator, I get 3 to the exponent 6, which is equal to 729. So here I have d, and I have a third squared times a third cubed, so I know that I have to add the exponents when the bases are the same. I don't have enough room here, so I'm going to write it down here. So I have 1/3 to the 5th. And when I evaluate it, I know that I'm going to have 1 to the 5th over 3 to the 5th. So I'm just going to actually write 1 to the 5th over 3 to the 5th, and then I can evaluate that. So 1 to the 5th is just 1. And then, again, using my trusty calculator, 3 to the 5th, I get 243. So it's going to be 1 over 243. So then a little further down, I have 2 cubed to the 5th, so I know that times 2 to the 1. So here I have a power to a power, so I multiply those together and I get 15. And then I'm going to have 2 to the 15 times 2 to the 1, and so I add 15 and 1 and I get 16. So I end up with 2 to the exponent 16. And so I'm going to put that in my little calculator, and so 2 to the 16 is 65,536. I can write that down on my paper, 65,536. So again here, I have 2 cubed times 2 to the 5th, so I know that's going to be 2 to the 8th over 2 to the 7, and so that's going to simplify to 2, and then evaluated it's going to stay the same. Then I have negative 3 squared to the 4th, so I know that's going to be negative 3 to the 8th, and then I divide it by negative 3 cubed, so when I divide, I subtract the exponent, so 8 minus 3 is 5, so I end up with negative 3 to the exponent 5. And when I throw that into my calculator, exponent 5, I get negative 243, which I would have expected because earlier when I did 3 to the 5th, I got 243. So now here I have negative 2 cubed to the 4th, and I have to write that as a single power. So I know that I need, whenever I have an even exponent, so here I have an even exponent of 4, that the base is actually going to become positive because this is even. So I know it's going to be 2 and not negative 2, and then 3 times 4 is 12. So it's going to be 2 to the 12. And when I throw that in the calculator, I get 4,096. All right. So moving on, what value of m makes this expression true such that 6a to the m divided by 2a to the 3 equals 3a to the 5. So all we're looking for then here is a number such that when we do, so 6 divided by 2 is going to be 3, and then a to the m divided by a cubed is going to be a to the 5. So I know then that m subtract 3 has to equal 5. So then I know that m has to equal 8. So that number is going to be 8. And then here, what is the value of 5x cubed y squared when x equals 2 and y equals 3? So again, I'm going to do 5, and then x is 2 times 2 cubed, and y is 3 squared. And so when I throw that in my calculator, I have 5 times 2 to the exponent 3 times 3 to the exponent 2 equals, and I get 360. So that is the knowledge and understanding part. So let's take a quick look at application. So number 1 says create 3 questions, each with a different exponent law that have p to the 6 as the answer. So let's do the product law. So we know for the product law then, if we have p to the 4 times p, so we have to add the exponents to get the 6. So the only way to get 6 is with 4 is with a 2. So p to the 4 times p to the 2 is going to equal p to the 6. Then we're going to do a quotient rule. So we're going to do, we know again our answer has to be p to the 6. So in this case, let's divide by p squared. So here I need to put a number such that that number minus 2 equals 6, and so that number is going to be 8. And then I need again, so this time I've got p squared to some exponent equals p to the 6, and I know this time this number times this number has to equal 6, so 2 times 3 equals 6. And so there's many possible answers for these questions, but that is 3 of them. So simplifying. To simplify fully, we just need to multiply, we need to apply our laws. So first we multiply our numbers together. So negative 4 times 5 is negative 20. And then x squared times x, well, it's like there's an imaginary 1 there. So we add the exponents, 2 plus 1 is 3. So we get x cubed. And then y squared times y cubed, well, again, we add the exponents. 2 plus 3 is 5. So we get y to the 5th. So then we do the next one. So for b, we have 6 over 8, which we know reduces to 3 over 4. X to the 4th divided by x. Well, again, there's an imaginary 1 there, so we subtract the exponents. 4 minus 1 is 3, so we get x cubed. Y to the 6th divided by y cubed. Well, 6 minus 3 is 3. And z squared divided by z squared, well, that just cancels out and becomes a 1, and then we don't have to worry about it because anything times 1 is just itself. So for C, we know that by the power of a product rule that this cubed goes with the negative 3, it goes with the x cubed, and it goes with the y to the 8. So we have negative 3 cubed, and then we have x cubed cubed, so that's going to be 3 times 3, which is 9. Then we have y to the 8 cubed, so that's going to be 8 times 3, which is 24. And then when we evaluate negative 3 cubed, we get negative 27, x to the 9, y to the 24. This one is special. Remember, we talked about this many times. It doesn't matter what is going on. If there's an expression to the 0, it always equals 1. So now let's look at the next two. So here we have a numerator and a denominator. So we have to simplify the numerator first. So we're going to do 2 cubed. Well, 2 cubed in the calculator is just 8. And then we have x cubed cubed, so we multiply the 3's together, so we get x to the 9. And then here we really have a y to the 1, so 1 times 3 is 3, so we get y cubed. And that's all going to be multiplied by negative 3, x to the 4th y, all over 2 x to the 4th y squared. So now we keep going with the numerator, so 8 times negative 3 is negative 24. We multiply like bases, so we add the exponents, so we get x to the 13. We multiply like bases, so we add the exponents, so we get y to the 4. And all of that is going to be over 2x to the 4th y squared. So now we can do the division because both the numerator and denominator have been simplified. So negative 24 divided by 2 is negative 12. X to the 13th divided by x to the 4. We subtract the exponent, so 13 minus 4 is 9. And then y4 divided by y squared. We subtract the exponent, so 4 minus 2 is 2. And then our last question, this is the one I said every other question has only ever had one x base and one y base as part of the expression when you've had a power of a product. But in this case, we have this lovely exponent here, but we've got a lot going on in here. So we want to apply BEDMAS rules first. So we want to simplify the this expression before we do, right? So we need to do the bracket before we do the exponents according to BEDMAS. So first I'm going to simplify the inside. Okay, so I'm going to write my bracket. So 10 divided by 15 is just reduces to 2 over 3. And x to the 8th divided by x cubed simplifies to x to the 5th. And y to the 6th divided by y to the 5th simplifies to y. And z to the 5th divided by z to the 5th, well, that just equals 1, so I don't have to write it. So now this whole expression is cubed, and it becomes a much easier problem. So we're going to have 2/3 cubed. Then we're going to have x to the 5th to the cube, so we multiply the exponent, so we get x to the 15th. And then we have y to the 1 to the cube, so we multiply the exponent, so we get y to the 3. And then we just evaluate. So remember, it's 2 cubed, which is 8, and 3 cubed, which is 27. So we have 8 over 27, x to the 15th, y cubed. So that's the first page. I'm going to stop there, and I'll put the second page, I'll do the second page next, and I'll put that in a different video.